3 points separate the top 3 clubs in the Premier League. Villa have won their last 11 games in a row. Meanwhile, Arsenal look to extend their lead at the top by 5 points. Enthralling, entertaining clash at the Emirates. Let's take a look. Arsenal in red, Aston Villa in black. This match was defined by two very different halves. Villa were competitive early on, but Arsenal completely controlled the second half, and that control explains the scoreline. To understand why Arsenal won by such a large margin, we first need to understand how both teams approached the game tactically. Arsenal set up in a 4-3-3, but in possession, they built up in a back three. This immediately presented Aston Villa with a decision: press high or stay conservative. From Villa's perspective, pressing this structure would actually be manageable. A four-man press could match Arsenal's build-up and create a man-to-man situation. However, Arsenal used this as a trap. Martin Ødegaard consistently dropped deeper during build-up, acting almost as a second pivot. This gave Arsenal superior technical quality in deep areas and an extra passing angle. If Villa committed to the press, Ødegaard had the ability to play long, accurate passes into the wide areas where space would open up immediately. Because of this threat, Villa chose not to press aggressively. Instead, Villa were comfortable dropping into a low block. Arsenal dominated possession, spending long spells in Villa's half, but this created two problems. First, Villa's compact low block made it extremely difficult for Arsenal to play through central areas. Passing lanes were closed and clear chances were limited. Second, Villa's deep positioning meant that when they won the ball, they could only really attack through long balls and counters. Early in the game, this actually worked. Villa had some promising moments in transition. Arsenal were forced to attack primarily through the wide areas, especially down the left side. This was deliberate. Villa were missing their regular right back, and Arsenal clearly identified this as a potential weakness to exploit. Despite getting crosses into the box, Arsenal weren't creating high-quality chances. So instead of forcing the issue, Arsenal made a subtle but crucial adjustment. They began to sit slightly deeper, not as deep as Villa but deeper than in the first half. They held the ball in deeper areas for longer. And this wasn't passive, it was intentional. This was another trap. The idea was simple: bait Aston Villa into pushing higher up the pitch. In the second half, Villa did exactly that. They began stepping higher, trying to manage space the way Arsenal had done in the first half. But there was one key difference: the distances between Villa's players were no longer compact. And this is where Arsenal punished them. Now when Arsenal won the ball, they could attack in transition with space between Villa's midfield and defensive lines. Unlike the first half, Arsenal also had enough players positioned behind the ball to control Villa's counterattacks. The game flipped. When we look at Arsenal's goals, a clear pattern emerges. Apart from Gabriel Magalhaes' goal from a corner, every goal came from Arsenal finding space directly in front of Villa's 18-yard box. That space simply didn't exist in the first half. It existed in the second half because Villa were recovering, not set in a low block. This adaptability is why Arsenal are at the top of the league. They study the opponent, manipulate space, and adjust within the game. Credit goes to the coaching staff, but also to the players who executed the plan with discipline and intelligence. This wasn't just dominance, it was control. Arsenal looked like good title contenders. This game is a perfect illustration of that, as Arsenal were able to well adapt in this game, and it single-handedly led to them winning the game. Final score: Arsenal 4, Aston Villa 1.